Prime Minister addressed the UN General Assembly that was about 2 hours back, and he gave a very strong message, in fact, on terror. He said that he will reciprocate to the Pakistan Prime Minister what he said, that he wants a new beginning with India. But our Prime Minister said that the epicenter of terror is in Pakistan, and Pakistan has to address all these issues. In fact, I have with me a very senior journalist, Mr. Verghese K George, who is Chief of Bureau, Hindustan Times, and he was also with me there in the UN General Assembly, and I'm just asking him that what is his take on the Prime Minister's address.
Well, what Prime Minister made, the Prime Minister remarks on Pakistan is a very nuanced statement that is made, while he is emphasizing the point that Pakistan must take action against terror camps. He's also making the point that he reciprocates what the Pakistani Prime Minister said about restarting the engagement with India. So to say that, okay, while the message is strong to Pakistan, the desire for restarting the negotiations and talks is equally emphasized. So I would say it's a very balanced take on how he wants to take processes and negotiations forward with Pakistan. I think it is reciprocated by Pakistan also. The government of India's intention to see that how much Nawaz Sharif would be in a position to and willing to commit himself to a peace process with Pakistan is very, very evident in what Prime Minister Manmohan Singh said at the UNGA.
Yeah, George, what are your expectations from tomorrow's talk? In fact, the Prime Minister himself said that the expectations may be toned down.
Well, I think all sides concerned, even the Pakistanis have said that let us not hype it. I think there is a very concerted effort from both sides to keep it understated, because generally the hype that surrounds all India-Pak dialogue or anything that relates to India and Pakistan, even if it's a cricket match, is so hyped that whatever the outcome is, if anything which goes wrong, can have very, very adverse consequence on bilateral relations. Therefore, I think there is an effort, and there is a very, very calculated decision on both sides to keep it a little understated. So I think, as Nawaz Sharif said, and our diplomats are saying, we can only hope for the best.
Yeah. Prime Minister, in fact, started his address with the reforms of the UN Security Council, and he said that since the UN was formed, there has been a gap of now about 7 decades, and so many new countries actually they have come up, and there are aspirations of these countries. George, would you please say?
Well, that's a recurring theme that Prime Minister Singh has been raising during the last several General Assemblies and on other international forums, that how to make multilateral organizations more democratic and representative. So he spoke about multilateralism in general, and then he came to the specific about UNGA. He said there is a challenge before the international community, how to make multilateralism work. And in that overall larger context, he said we must begin the reform in the United Nations by expanding the UNSC with much better representation for developing world and new countries. So I think that is in line with what he's been saying, and I think it is in India's desire, it is India's own aspiration that we be represented as a permanent member in the UNSC, but with several other countries which are in a position to take that power. Take that position.
Just the last question. From the next year, the U.S. troops will be withdrawing. They will start withdrawing from Afghanistan. What will be the implications for India of this withdrawal?
Well, it may not be very direct as we would. As a senior official in the Prime Minister's delegation spoke to us when we were on our way, that we have been encountering militants from Afghanistan much earlier also, much before much before the talks about the US withdrawal from Afghanistan has begun. Now, as we all know, there is also a much discussion about US may know the kind of US may be reformatting the scope and nature of its military engagement in Afghanistan, but it may not be a complete withdrawal. So the fact that US and India are engaged in understanding the emerging security scenario, and how Pakistan's role in stabilizing that region is been acknowledged not only by India and America, Pakistan itself. So I think there is a concerted effort by India and the US, of course, And now I think both India and Pakistan, India and US are interested in keeping Pakistan also in the loop and trying to ensure that everybody is on one page, everybody is on the same page in addressing this question of the volatility or the potential uncertainty which could come. But I think as we've been told by Indian diplomats, that the situation of Afghanistan is better and more optimistic than many of us think.
Yeah.